and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour. My name is Drax Dupree. We're on summer break between Season 2 and 3. Just 2 more quick and great reruns before we return with brand new and topical shows. Today, Harry Potter roleplay in Second Life with the Mischief Managed community run by Corwin LaCourte and friends. And we spoke to him and his colleague Nashari Hines back in show 62. But before we roll tape, let me announce that we are coming back August 14th with Season 3. The first show of this season will be called Sansar Anxiety. And if the combination of these 2 words does not resonate with you, I'm sorry, you're not our core audience and you must unsubscribe to the show immediately. I'm kidding. We need you. We want you. And we want to inform you about Sansar Anxiety. Anyway, so we'll have some great guests on that show. And we want your questions and concerns on the topic of Linden Lab's upcoming Next Generation Virtual World, how it relates to what you're doing or not doing in Second Life right now. How does it inform your behavior and your plans for the future? What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of that Sansar will just be a bunch of interconnected temporary VR thrill rides? And completely abandon the concept of a persistent interconnected universe, aka the metaverse? Do you care? Will High Fidelity and Face World destroy Sansar before it goes live? If you're a Linden listening, please write in anonymously with your comments and we discuss them with our esteemed panel in 2 weeks. So that's a little preview for things to come. Please, housekeeping notes, as you know, visit our sponsors. You can get in touch with us. Become a sponsor yourself. We have a new one this week, SL Golf Magazine. Are you wondering where to go for the latest golf clothing? I sure do, all the time. No, I don't, but I love to read Golf Magazine, and I also love to read Bright Metallic and Toxic Candy. Those are 3 magazines that explore communities of various obsessions. And as a obsessed person myself, I appreciate obsession because obsession has a bad rap, but it's just passion spelled differently. So the Avazines Collective, our new sponsor, visit them, click on the banner. Now let's go to my conversation with Corwin LaCourte and Nashari Hines from Mischief Managed. I asked them how they started out in Second Life. Here's Corwin.
We started out as a sim called Hogwarts Your Story. What year was that, Lenny?
11, 12 is
Yeah, 11. I think 11. And it was run by another group of admins, and they, as admins tend to do in Second Life, burned out really quickly and decided that they wanted to close down Hogwarts Your Story. And so myself and a group of admins who are no longer with us, including Anya Omai, who is the fabulous builder of our castle. She was the original sim builder at Mischief Managed. We took it over. We decided to close that sim altogether and move to a completely new land and just start from scratch so that we could build a completely new custom mesh castle and all of that. And so that's how we became Mischief Managed.
Your sim is amazing. Is it one sim or is it how big is it actually?
It is a single sim. Our castle and grounds are on the actual ground level, and then all of the interiors of the castle are done in skyboxes so that our role players have less lag and we have more room to spread out in the sky.
You can also play Quidditch, right?
You can play Quidditch. In fact, several months back, met a fabulous new scripter named Sadie, who is really just an incredibly magical person. I'm a builder. I can do mesh and texturing. I'm also on one of my other avatars, my main Second Life business, I build hair, but I can't script my way out of a wet paper sack. And Sadie is just truly magical. And so he built a fabulous Quidditch system for us that's exclusive to our sim. And it's really, really nice, actually.
People dismiss Second Life for many reasons, but one thing that I always hear when it comes to kind of gaming and even like Quidditch or football, there's a football league, as you know, and all sorts of things. People would say, yeah, you can't do that. It's ridiculous.
You can. I mean, certainly Second Life, I don't think is set up to be something as fast-paced as an FPS, shooter. But Quidditch is a very fast-paced, fairly violent game, and we've managed a pretty darn good system for that. I don't have a lot of lag in it, and most of our players don't. We were able to create a system where you could actually do all of those things through a HUD and through balls that behave in the proper manner. I think that sports in Second Life are definitely doable.
If you want to summarize it real quick, just in case people have never heard of Harry Potter, what is Quidditch?
It's essentially like soccer/football. It's a wizarding sport, and there are three golden rings at each end of this huge pitch. And we manage our lag by having our pitch, of course, be in the sky and nothing be around it. The chasers, and they chase a ball called the quaffle. It's enchanted to float slowly toward the ground. Then there are other balls. There are the bludgers, which are these little metal balls that are very angry, and they're charmed to chase players around and try and knock them off their broomsticks. Beaters, which are the players that are in charge of those, fly around chasing those balls, trying to keep them off of their players and hit them towards the other player's team. The final ball is the golden snitch, and it's a tiny golden ball, and it flies very quickly, and it's very difficult to catch. And when the seeker catches the ball, the game is over, and that team is awarded 150 points. Our balls each behave differently. The quaffle just sort of slowly falls towards the ground, and the chasers can catch it and throw it to one another. We use keystrokes for everything. The chasers will be 1, 2, or 3, and then a throw button to actually physically throw it through the thing. The bludgers are when a beater catches one, that it stays on their bat for a small moment, and they have a few seconds to decide what player they're going to throw it at, and they can hit the appropriate button. Everybody has a big number above their head. The snitch, it is uncatchable at certain times. It flies so fast you can't catch it, and then it will stop and let off a spray of gold sparkles, at which point, if a seeker approaches it flees from them.
Now, Shari, Corwin at the outset said that admins burn out. You're an administrator. Do you have the burnout syndrome currently, or are you planning on getting it?
I've been an administrator only since about April of last year, so I'm one of the newer additions.
You have one more year before the burnout issue.
I think the only way to negate being burned out is to make sure you balance yourself. I also have another character that I don't publicize so that I can still enjoy the roleplay aspects of the sim and still have fun, as well as being able to, get ideas across and help the sim grow. We have different departments for specific things, which helps. For myself and for Corwin, we don't handle like the applications or things like that. So there's a completely different admin that handles that. And
then a team of people that assist them.
Yes, exactly. Quite a few people that go through the applications and figure everything out and approve, disapprove, work on applications for that.
You mean applications for people who want to join the community?
Yes. Well, you can come in on our what we call our Muggle Mondays. Other than that, you have to be a member in order to get from our landing point, which is what we call Hogsmeade, down to the main part of the castle.
The application process, are you doing this to keep the balance correct between students and wizards and all the different roles?
I think they do the applications because they want to make sure that people understand what is canonically correct before they get involved. So like we can't have robots walking around because they just want to do it or something like that.
It's to make sure that the players understand the wizarding world and have at least a basic understanding. And there's a lot of people to help them also understand that. But every day we have applications for people that are the chief high demon of Zanzibar, who his mother was Voldemort's exes, the craziest stuff, and so our ALOs, which are the team that help the admin who is in charge of that, they go through them and they message the players and say, hey, let's talk about this, and this isn't appropriate and you can't do that, and do you understand blah, and let me help you with this. And so it's just to make sure that because our players really love to get very immersed in the story, and so if you have somebody flying through riding a robot chicken, it just doesn't work out so well.
How do you really specifically go about preventing this? And then when it happens, how do you go about it? You ban people, you block people. How do you do this?
Well, we have a three-strike process. So if they're really truly just absolutely heinous, then we'll give them a strike, and they have 3 shots. So getting banned is pretty difficult. But usually it's simply that players that aren't added to the role play group can't go beyond Hogsmeade Village and come into the castle. So the players are pretty free to role play in an environment where they're not going to interact with people that are not Correct, for the sim. But I mean, we have a great many players, and we tend to be fairly liberal on who we let in, as long as they've shown us that they've written a thoughtful character and are making an attempt at role play and have, you know, the appropriate clothing. You have to have a school uniform, you know.
So you're relatively free to create a character as long as it fits the theme?
Yes, as long as it fits the Wizarding World theme. Our sim takes place 20 years in the future after the Harry Potter books end, and it's just in the Wizarding World setting. So they're free to make up anything, and our rule is that you can't have any connection to characters from the books, so that it's something completely unique into itself. It's a fan project, you know, that we're not trying to, you know, role play in the book setting. We just, you know, we're trying to role play in the world, not necessarily in the books themselves.
This answers obviously my question I had: how do you deal with intellectual property issues?
J.K. Rowling's been really, really liberal with allowing, you know, fan websites. There are many of them out there, ones that use way more intellectual property than we do. You know, we don't use any artwork that's related directly to, you know, everything is custom built by us. We don't use characters that are canon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just set in the Wizarding World, and it's completely a not-for-profit fan-based project. If people bring in, you know, actual logos from the movie and such, we tell them, we're sorry, you can't sell that here.
Going back to my earlier question, now I'm going to call you Linny. What does your typical day then look like? So is it a mixture of a little bit enforcement here and nudging people in the right direction?
Well, it depends on the day. I'm also a professor on the sim, so if it's a day where I'm going to be teaching at the same time, the professor avatar is the same one that I use for the admin. If it's a day that I'm teaching a class, and I typically will spend a couple of hours preparing my class and then getting ready to teach it, and periodically get an IM from a random person asking a question about their application, and then I'll have to point them to the right place, or I'll have to go check dorm beds to make sure people aren't over their prim limit, or I have to make sure the vendors in Hogsmeade don't have copyright material out, just random spot checks.
Give me an overview of what people do. So some people live there, they have dorms, they're students. Then are there plant activities, battles of swords? Obviously, I guess maybe a Quidditch tournament or stuff like that.
We're a para-roleplay community, or semi-para-roleplay community. So the players, a lot of our players are writers. Some of them do like to hit us with massive walls of text, you know, and such. But in general, there are classes throughout the day. We have players that play professors, and they make up their own classes and use the classrooms to teach them. And they're scheduled on our calendar. The players can attend. We have a roleplay HUD that's been created where it's sort of like, you know, any role-playing game. After they attend a class, they get a role-play point that they can add to different categories on their HUD. Their spells or potions or transfigurations and divinations and herbology, magical creatures, academics and such. And they use those for dice rolls in their spell work when they're role-playing casting spells on the sim. And then there's a number of other things. Sadie just finished a wizarding called Wizarding Snap. It's a card game, and the players can play one another and try and win collectible cards, which are all pictures of professors from our sim and the sim itself.
Is that HUD based?
There is a HUD, but the HUD is really just to start the game. The game itself is all graphical, and it's a click to interact sort of card game that Sadie crafted, and it's beautiful. Then of course there are Quidditch games. What am I leaving out? It just goes on and on and on. And then there are scheduled roleplay events, different things that happen that go along with the main story. Our roleplay department has a lot of very elaborate ongoing plots.
What is the biggest challenge for a roleplay community in Second Life when it comes to the immersion or breaking the immersion? What bugs me is when I'm in world and some functionality throws me out onto the web. I mean, this is a simple thing. Obviously, you have an object with additional information, and you click on it and it opens your browser. How do you guys solve that adding information or dispensing information while not breaking the immersion?
Well, for me, I really enjoy the game aspect of it. I try and keep as much in-world as possible. Like, I really wanted things to be, HUD-based, but the HUDs have to be pretty and themed. We have to use a little bit of web-based stuff for like our spell lists, rules about the sim, etc. We post as much as we can in-world on, themed-looking posters and such. But things do link to our website, but nothing like would pop up. They would have to actively go there to do that. I mean, me personally, I'm I'm a builder, so I have Blender on one screen, Photoshop on the other, and Second Life on the third one at any given moment. I'm completely self-taught. I'm a hairstylist in real life. I have no formal training whatsoever. I had always been fascinated by builders when I first joined Second Life. There was a hairstyle that I desperately wanted to have that I just could not find at another hair builder. And I tracked down some sculpts and assembled my own sort of like, Legos. And then somebody messaged me and said, hey, where did you buy this hair at? And I was like, oh, I made it. And he was like, oh, where's your store? And I was like, oh, I don't have a store. And he was like, you made that and you don't have a store? And I was like, yes. And he's like, well, can I buy one? And I was like, yes. And so I sold it to him. And then 3 hours, I wish I had kept this guy's name, but this was years back. And he messaged me and said, well, here is a link to YouTube on how to upload stuff to the marketplace in Second Life. You need to sell your stuff. It's great. I love his hairstyle. And so I put this one hairstyle in a single color. It was brown on the marketplace. And I sold 12 of them almost right away. And I thought, holy crap, I have to make more hair. I became an admin at Hogwarts Your Story with Anya Omai is a goddess. I don't know. She's a builder in Second Life, and she's pretty well known, and she's incredibly talented. And she was our chief builder there, and also built all of our original ground castle here at Mischief Managed. And she was just incredibly helpful. She just told me, once you learn the hotkeys, your fingers will just go there. And one day on a Tuesday at 2:35 p.m., she was right. It just clicked. And then it's Second Life and building in Second Life and Blender is just, and it's a constant, eternal learning process. I mean, Linny is a fabulous mesh builder as well, and she'll do something and I'll be like, now how the heck would you do that in Blender? And so I'll go on a mission from God to track down exactly how that is accomplished. And I don't know, it's like a puzzle to me. I think it's definitely doable for almost anyone. You just have to get past those vicious hotkeys. It's rough, but my wisdom there is you can always hit space and search on anything and it will tell you where the hell it is.
Linny, tell me your story about building. Can you give people hope?
I had a friend who has a store in SL called the Orange Works or something like that. And I asked, what program do you use? And he said 3ds Max. And I was like, give me a lesson. And he gave me a lesson and I figured it out from there. Now I have another store in SL now for full perm mesh. And that's what I do most of the day. And then I build for Mischief Managed as well.
Lenny's actual real life job is Second Life, which I think is fascinating.
I'm online all day long.
I mean, I personally do way more Mischief Managed than I do my business, which makes money, And people are like, well, why are you spending all your time on this, doing this for no money? And I'm like, because I love it. And
why do you watch 4 hours of television a day?
Absolutely. And that is a constant argument, actually, with some of my real life friends who will probably listen to this interview and be like, what?
Well, let's make the case. Let's make the case for...
They love to watch television, and they'll sit and watch 12 episodes of Netflix, and I'll spend an evening making, honestly, beautiful, I think, artwork.
Yeah.
Second Life, and viewing other people's artwork and collaborating with other artists all over the world. And somehow the television has more value. And I'm like, really?
It is bizarre. It is bizarre.
Isn't that strange to you? I don't understand it. I mean, no, I didn't make any money off of building all of this stuff for the role players, but I get to, I feel such an incredible sense of accomplishment. I actually don't role play as much as I should because I enjoy sitting in the sky and watching the role players play with the stuff we made.
You're the god.
I enjoy I'll sit and cam people, from the sky and be like, ooh, look, they're playing with the thing we made, and I get very excited. I'm very excited about that.
That is borderline creepy though, a little bit.
But we have to see, are they able to actually, play the game, or are they all crashing and burning and firing their broomsticks? I'll talk about, I have a lot of friends in Second Life, and I consider them to be real, actual friends. Yet, my physical friends who I know, in my own town think that is just insane and these people don't matter. And I'm like, but they do. They're very real,
In my town, people do cross the street when I show up because they're afraid that I start talking about it. So, but how do you do this? And you're a hairstylist, as you said. Are you talking about this with a customer, perhaps?
I do. I've been at the same salon for 15 years, and if they've come to me that long, they know that I'm a little odd. And so in any case, but clients are usually really fascinated about it. And when I first explain it to them, a lot of their reaction, if they've heard of Second Life at all, is, oh, it's that sex game. And I'm like, yeah, no, yes, but no. I mean, you can do anything in Second Life. You can go to one sim and everybody's, pretending to be a wizard, like at our sim, and you can go to the next sim and everybody's a My Little Pony, and the next sim everybody's chained up and whipping one another. It's again, it's a celebration of human creativity. You can do anything, and I think that's hard for them to understand. They expect video games to have a very linear, sort of progression and for it to be complete.
But the world is rich like that. Why do you? I accept it with San Francisco.
Yeah, I don't know. But in general, the clients that I talk to about it they'll come back and ask me, oh, so what's going on in your Second Life? And they usually have some amount, other word that they've come up with. They've forgotten what it's called. But people seem in general really open to it and fascinated. And because they know me in advance, and usually it's not like I tell my first time clients. It's people that I've worked on for ages that I'll actually open up and talk about Second Life. They know that I'm a whole person otherwise, and so they seem to find it really interesting.
So, but you, but you do treat it like, let's say, a taxidermist who knows that if he starts a conversation with, yes, I have tons of dead animals in my garage, may kind of be a conversation killer. So you start with the normal stuff, and then you add that later.
Sometimes it depends on the person. Second Life's a huge part of my life, so it's hard to, and my job is very intimate. I'm in people's personal space. We're touching, I'm touching them. And so it's really hard to talk about me and not eventually bring up Second Life,
Linny, how do you deal with since we're on that subject, how do you deal with talking about what you do with your family, friends, colleagues, whatever, the milkman?
I don't disclose the role play aspect of what I do. I don't think my real life friends or my family even know that I'm an admin, except for, I think, one. But that's it. They know what I do for a living, and I get a lot of questions about that. I just end up saying I make graphics for a video game, because otherwise they just don't get it. So
yeah, that's how I phrased it too. I make video game graphics.
My question was, are you concerned that then you wouldn't be understood, Linny, or that all the same old, like, oh yeah, the game where people have virtual sex and cheat on their spouses?
Yeah, that is part of the problem. This is not my original character, the Nashari one. I was on beta, so I'm very, very old. And when people found out that I was in it, so many questions. And then back then, it wasn't really a whole lot to show. It was only one sim. And then once SL got into more of a swing and I came back as Nashari, I got more questions. Why are you doing that? Why do you spend your time doing that? Isn't it just sex? Or what do you get out of it? And I'm like, okay. I don't like a lot of questions. So as much as I can, I'll make it short and to the point, and then hopefully it's dropped. But sometimes it's not.
But that's completely legitimate. I understand that. That's also a personal decision. Just you don't want to be bugged by that stuff. I tend to be kind of hitting people over the head because I feel that they could have really getting a lot out of it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take Linny's advice and just not engage. It's a waste of time. Okay, so you mentioned earlier, because just a couple more questions. This is so fascinating. You mentioned earlier you have a lot of writers among the role players, and so on your website there's a plot subsection here. Are there people actually writing this story, and who is in charge of that, or is that a collaborative thing?
It is collaborative. However, we have an admin named Klepto who is in charge of our role play department, and there's a group of people, a team, and they work on the plot line together, and they create an overarching story of things that we're working on, and then the players of course contribute, and so some things will be brought into the plot through the players' own stories, et cetera, and then some things are fed into the sim through us. We also have Sadie scripted us a questing system where they can go and click on items, and it gives them the go and collect 5 of these and 6 of this and bring it back to the imp who's going to run around and trash the school. I want players to have things to do when there's not other players to work with, and so we have scripted quests where there will be NPCs that are like there are cats and paintings that can speak, etc. and they can go to them in like there's a cat quest on the sim, for example, and it's a very flippant one, but the cat will look sad, and so they have to figure out how to talk to the cat. So they're hinted to go to the library where they can dig through the books and find a potion that will allow them to speak to the cat, and then the cat tells them that Professor Ipswich's mean cat has stolen its favorite ball, and then they get on this wild, crazy goose chase throughout the castle.
Wait, is this done with text?
It's done with text and graphics.
But the response is in text, so you don't have voiceover embedded in the objects?
Well, some of them are. I do voiceovers for some of our things that speak. Our Halloween quest was an imp that was released from the Defense Against that scared Lenny to death.
Yeah, he didn't warn me, and I got terrified.
There was an imp that got released from the Defense Against the Dark Arts room and wreaked havoc on the school, and they had to catch it and put it back. And I did all the voiceover, so when they clicked on the imp, it actually spoke. And so that one was a lot of fun. Our Valentine's quest was mostly text and note cards. The items would speak out loud in the text, but also give them a note card detailing what they needed to do. And then there are mesh items for everything. They have to, when they have to collect things, they have to collect the item and then res it out in front of the giver and click it so that it will take them away.
How many people do you have right now? General numbers about the team behind this whole operation, roughly? And then how many role players do you have? Or do you also have a limit?
We don't have a limit. Role players come and go, and we have hundreds and hundreds of role players in the group. Generally, what would you say, Lenny? There's usually like 15 to 30 people on the sim at any given time, except the middle of the night, and then the poor, wayward Asian and European players, will wander around alone and bewildered. We struggle to get people that are interested in teaching classes in the middle of the night. The USA night. A lot of our players are from the US.
Is Second Life the best place for role-playing?
I think so. I've played a lot of tabletop. Lenny can answer this too. I enjoy tabletop, but
by the way, tabletop is almost, I don't know if it's a resurgence, but it never really went away, and it's a very strong niche.
It certainly didn't, but our game is kind of based on a tabletop. We have dice rolls, etc. I find Second Life more compelling because the storytellers, which we have a vast team of storytellers, but we can build the environment for the players to interact in, and if there's going to be a bad guy, you see them. If there's I think that's way more exciting to me. If I were going to do a tabletop game like Shadowrun, for example, I would want to get a sim and set up the stuff. I think personally, yes, I think so. I have friends that would argue, real life friends would argue violently toward in opposition to that.
People who play Magic cards at the comic book store?
People play Magic cards. I have a lot of...
What is their argument against something like Second Life?
Their argument against Second Life is that, I don't know. They really feel like it's the biggest thing is the Second Life hurdle. It's really difficult for new players. There's quite a learning curve, which in my opinion, it was like a 2-day learning curve for me, but I clearly... I can pick things up, I've tried to bring a lot of people to Second Life who were just lost and bewildered and ran away screaming, I feel like Second Life's definitely the most immersive place to role play because, you can role play in games that are pre-made for you, but you can make your own in Second Life, and that's way more exciting to me.
So that was Corwin Lacourt and Nashari Hines from Mischief Managed in Second Life. More info is on our blog and links and everything. Remember to send in your questions and comments for the upcoming first show of Season 3, coming August 13th. Tentative title, Sansar Anxiety. We're also starting with a new segment called Origin Stories about how folks got into SL. Why are they staying? That's a follow-up question, but the main gist of that segment is how did you get into it? Who told you about it? Where did you see it? What piqued your curiosity? So if you want to tell your story on the show, drop us a line or send us unedited audio. No longer than 7 minutes though, and we're gonna edit it down to fit the show. Lots of stuff to come, and you will hear it right here on the Drax Files Radio Hour. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend. Bye.
The Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley is a weekly production of Basic Drax Entertainment. The show is supported by Dwarfins, Leap Motion, Dutchy Furniture, Stitcher, Strawberry Sing, Fateware by Damien Fate, Giza Creations, Arrows Avatars, Maven Homes, Mad Pete Productions, Girls Identity Circus, Ison, Caravel Design, Vika Creations, Humanoid Animations, Loki Elliott, Botanical, Death Row Designs, Fallen Gods Incorporated, What's Next, Abranimations, The Den, Cube Republic, Abacon, and Landscapes Unlimited. Contact the show via Skype, Drax Files, Avatar Drax Files, or email radio@draxfiles.com.